gonna be nice to be on a location that isn't as dark and gloomy as the Throne World. It's obviously Throne World is cool. We all love the Hive architecture, but it is nice just to be in a futuristic, clean, cyberpunk, Blade Runner, Neo, just shiny city that also, as a point they've made many times, isn't like this old abandoned place it was up until recently. Like, we're going to see the invasion happen as Callus's ship arrives. They're gonna be like just evacuating and just like dealing with all the battle that's going on. So it's going to be interesting to see that. And I'm really hoping. I was a bit disappointed with the Throne World as a location. I feel like there wasn't as many secrets and kind of intricate, just random Easter eggs. That I honestly feel like the Dreadnought was almost more in depth, or maybe even, I'm not sure if this is accurate, but I feel like even Mars on the Warmind, as far as just secrets that were hidden around and random Easter eggs and things to find, I feel like for a place like the Throne World, I feel like there could have been more secrets and puzzles and just random cool stuff to explore. Unpredictable stuff is what I like. So hopefully there's some of that in Neomuna. But what do you think?
Now that I think about it, I mean, there were weekly unlockables that came along in Witch Queen, but as an overall point, yeah, I kind of agree. The Throne World hosted an amazing story.
For sure.
And the locations that you go to are all definitely tied to that story. But it's no Dreaming City. It's no Warmind.
That's a better example. Yeah, definitely not a Dreaming City. Yeah.
These places, they had their mainline activities, and even they felt kind of like enigmas. Like, I mean, sure, you can access the Altar of Reflection through some of the different lost sectors, and that in itself is kind of neat, but that's just one thing. The Queen's... Queen's? No, what am I thinking? The Dreaming City had not just everything to do with the Awoken and all the different secrets that you could dive into there. It had the hidden Ahamkara eggs all throughout. You had the Ascendant challenges, which may have been mainline,
Very
but
good.
Oh my god, you had to go through and drink a Queen's Foil tincture and jump into a portal which you didn't see the location of until you were in a vague area, and then you got just a notice. You had to hunt for these things. And even when you jumped inside, it was like, oh my god, there's an entire extra layer to this place, And I think I think it's just really hard to top other locations. But yeah, the Throne World absolutely lacks some of that in comparison to previous destinations. I think, honestly, now that you say it, I really do hope that they make a bigger effort when it comes to that. I feel as though Neomuna is going to be very different, though, purely because of the fact that they've clearly built this place out with the architecture for the grapple. So we're going to probably see a destination that is wider in different terms than any other destination than we've previously seen. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Very
more vertical.
Traversable. Yeah, I mean, the Throne World, I don't want to act like it was like super empty, but I feel like as for a place like Witch Queen's home, Savathun's home dimension with all this trickery, I feel like it could, especially with the Hive kind of Dreadnought theme, I felt like it could have been more. It wasn't disappointing, but it was just kind of like half of the course, but I was kind of expecting just a ton of just the surprises, like, the what is it, the scent of the worm on the Dreadnought, where you just go into a random cave and there's a blind thrall, and then you get this scent and you go on these like floating platforms. Just the surprising weird stuff. I feel like it wasn't too unpredictable, but
like every area had 3 or 4 different little puzzles that you could do, and all of them totally non-connected, and all of them probably just linked you in and got you a hidden chest and probably one of the calcified fragments. But it was the fact that they were there in the first place. In the Throne World, we have Qualicore, which is, I mean, it's Qualicore, it's terrible. It's like, who here listening to this podcast has honestly completed a full round of Qualicore? I did it once, and I'm a completionist, and I have never bothered since. I pick it up now in the Throne World, and I'm like, oh great, cool, my inventory is getting clogged. Like, it's just not the same.
Until you just said it just now.
Precisely. It's just, there are better ways of doing secrets. And, you do have deep sight bits and pieces around the Throne World that can kind of link into that. But some of them are just really not that good. It's just a couple of platforms appear, you jump up and you get a chest. Those in themselves are cool, but I feel as though there was just a greater breadth and variety of puzzles that you could see on a place like the Dreadnought or the Dreaming City. Like there's certainly something better to it with that. I just don't think it hits home the same way.
Yeah, and I think especially with the time it was released for being 2015, you definitely give Taken King a lot more credit. At the time, it was like, it might not. That's the thing with comparisons, is why it's always difficult. A lot of people, I feel like when they look back at Destiny 1 content, they kind of think, oh, this is so lackluster. This is nowhere near what we have today. Like, how is it even a comparison? But you need to think about things relatively for the time. Like, for PS3, PS4, old gen game, at the time, it was a big deal. It might not look as impressive if you look back with 2023 eyes, but you have to look at things relatively. Like, things in 2023 should be much bigger and better. So you can't really look at things exactly as comparisons. Like, yeah, if you look back now, Destiny 1 might look dated, but you have to think about it at the time it was released. It was a big deal for their first time trying these things and having no prior experience or things to learn from. That's why a lot of people are very nostalgic, and there's obviously an element of nostalgia goggles, but you definitely do have to think of things relatively for the time it was released, and that's why it gets a lot of respect for being ahead of its time, basically.
Yeah. I have to give them praise in advance, therefore, because they have stated that Neomuna will play host to kind of big, spontaneous events, kind of similar to Escalation Protocol, which, in my opinion, is a very good direction to go. And whenever I sit there and think about that, I always think about Archon's Court and the Court of Oryx, or Archon's Forge, rather, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Back in Rise of Iron. And, these are things where it's not technically a public event, but it is also, I mean, it really is one of the reasons why you went to the Dreadnought as well. Like, if you were trying to get your power level, light level up back in the day, you were definitely sitting there and you were looking at the Court of Oryx, and it was a key mechanism by which you would do that. It was one of the only places to get good artifacts. And Tier 3 with its rotating bosses, things have tried to emulate that with a certain degree of success. And I feel like going back to it every week is probably a good place to be.